The crystal glass sits heavy in my hand, condensation chilling my fingers. Around me, the laughter of our friends echoes, a sound that feels suddenly, violently alien. I nod, I smile, I play the part I've always played. The supportive wife. The quiet partner. The backdrop to his brilliant, booming success. He's talking, holding court, his voice rich with accomplishment and just enough faux humility to be charming. He's talking about the company, his latest deal, how he built it from nothing. And then, effortlessly, casually, he pivots. He gestures vaguely in my direction, a dismissive flick of his wrist. The air goes still. The smiles on our friends' faces tighten, just slightly, imperceptibly. But I see it. I feel it like a physical blow. His words cut through the air, sharp and clean. Honestly, he says, a chuckle rumbling in his chest. At this point, she's just dead weight. The words hang there, suspended in the sudden, sharp silence. Dead weight. Not partner. Not wife. Not the woman who put her own ambitions on hold, who managed the life that allowed him to work 18-hour days, who listened, advised, sacrificed. Just dead weight. A burden. Something useless dragging him down. My blood runs cold, then hot, then cold again. My smile freezes on my face, brittle and fragile. I look at our friends, their eyes darting, embarrassed, pretending not to have heard, pretending to find their drinks fascinating. They heard. Everyone heard. He meant for them to hear. He meant for me to hear. He wanted to diminish me, to categorize me, to label me in front of the very people we socialize with, the people who see our curated life. And he chose dead weight. The most useless, burdensome thing he could think of. The glass feels like a stone now, anchoring me to the floor. The laughter, when it tentatively resumes, sounds hollow, like bones rattling. He turns back to them, oblivious, or perhaps entirely satisfied. He doesn't look at me. He doesn't need to. He delivered the blow. He knows it landed. Let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. It helps me more than you know. The rest of the evening is a blur of forced politeness. My limbs feel heavy, numb. My mind, usually a whir of thoughts and observations, is a vast, echoing chamber where only those two words bounce and reverberate. Dead weight. Dead weight. Dead weight. How long has he thought that? Was it a sudden revelation, born of temporary frustration? Or has it been building, a quiet resentment he's harbored while I went about our life, believing we were building something together? The worst part is not the insult itself, though it is brutal. It's the casualness, the complete lack of regard. Like pointing out a broken piece of furniture. Oh, that old chair? Yeah, it's just dead weight now. That's how he sees me. Not even as a person, but as an object that has outlived its usefulness. We leave early. I mumble something about a headache. He's agreeable, already on his phone, probably coordinating the next phase of his ever-expanding, oh-so-important empire. The silence in the car is different from the silence in the living room. There, it was sharp with shared awkwardness. Here, it is thick with everything left unsaid, everything that can now never be unsaid. I stare out the window, the city lights blurring into streaks of color. Each one feels like a tiny, distant star in a galaxy I no longer inhabit. I am floating, untethered, but not in a freeing way. In a lost, abandoned way. He doesn't ask if I'm okay. He doesn't apologize. He doesn't even mention it. It's as if the words never left his lips, never fractured the air, never shattered something inside me. For him, it was a fleeting thought, a casual observation, perhaps even a joke he assumed I'd be in on. That's the cruelest part. He didn't think it would wound me, because he didn't think I mattered enough to wound. I was background noise. And the background, apparently, had become too heavy. That night, I lie awake. The house is silent. The man next to me breathes softly in his sleep, oblivious to the seismic shift his words caused. I look around the room. The expensive furniture, the art on the walls, the view of the city lights from the window, all the trappings of the life he built. the life I supported. I remember quitting my job. It wasn't just a job. It was the beginning of a career I loved in finance. He was just starting his venture, working round the clock. He'd said, "We'll do this together. You're the steady hand, the sharp mind. Once the company is stable, you can jump back in. Maybe even with me, we were a team." He needed me to handle everything else so he could focus. So I did. I managed the house, the social calendar, the finances, the investments, everything but the day-to-day of his company. I created the space for him to grow. And he grew all right. Right past me. Right over me. I traced the patterns on the duvet cover with my finger. Dead weight. The words are branded onto my soul. I think about my friends' faces. The pity? The embarrassment? The silent agreement? Did they see it too? Had they whispered about me behind cupped hands? Poor thing. She just doesn't do much, does she? The thought makes me feel sick. I had traded my professional identity, my financial independence, my public sphere of competence, for this life. This life where I was now deemed dead weight. The next morning is a performance. We move through the motions of breakfast, of getting ready. He's talking about a merger, a potential acquisition. His world is dynamic, fast-paced, exciting. Mine, apparently, is static, burdensome, irrelevant. I listen, I nod. I offer the occasional quiet question I know he doesn't really need an answer to. He doesn't see the ice forming in my eyes. He doesn't feel the ground shifting beneath his feet. He sees the same woman he saw yesterday, the one who manages the household, who plans the dinners, who exists pleasantly on the periphery of his real life. But the ice is forming. The ground is shifting. Something fundamental cracked open last night, and the air rushing in is cold and sharp and fills me with a terrifying clarity. I am financially dependent. I am socially defined by him. My contributions are invisible or dismissed. He has built a tower, and I am on the foundation, buried, necessary at the start, but now just dead weight. The early struggles aren't about confrontation. They're about silence. A chilling, deliberate silence. I pull back. Not dramatically. Not in a way he'd notice immediately. I stop asking about his day with the same eagerness. I become less available for last-minute social events. I spend more time out, though I don't tell him where. He barely notices. His world is too big, too demanding for him to track my minor orbits. This confirms everything. I am background. I am negligible. I start by looking at numbers. Our joint accounts. His company's public filings. The market. My mind, the one he now calls dead weight, awakens. It's like a dormant engine sputtering to life, shaking off years of quiet domesticity. I remember my training. I remember the thrill of dissecting a balance sheet, of understanding market forces, of spotting vulnerabilities. He thinks I've been idle. He thinks my brain has atrophied. He doesn't know I spend hours online reading, catching up, refreshing the skills I deliberately let lie fallow for him. The rising challenges aren't external yet. They're internal. Doubts gnaw at me. Can I do this? Am I smart enough? Do I have the courage? He's so powerful, so connected. His shadow looms large. The financial dependency is a heavy chain. How can I fight someone whose wealth controls my very existence? I look at my small personal savings, remnants from before, supplemented by meager allowances he gives me for household expenses, an allowance I have meticulously skimmed and saved over years, like a squirrel hoarding nuts for a winter he never knew was coming. It's nowhere near enough for what I'm starting to contemplate. He continues, oblivious. He talks about expanding, about new markets. He brings work home, leaves papers scattered on the dining table. Financial reports. Market analysis.
Investor decks.
He doesn't hide them. Why would he? I'm just the wife. The dead weight. I wouldn't understand. But I do. Oh, I understand. More than he could ever imagine. I pore over them when he's asleep. I see the cracks he overlooks, the dependencies he's created, the vulnerabilities in his structure. His success is built on confidence, swagger, and relentless drive. But the foundation has flaws. Flaws I know how to exploit. The midpoint shift arrives subtly, like the first whisper of a cold wind before a storm. I'm in my old study, a room that's become less of a workspace and more of a storage unit for relics of my former life. I find a box filled with old files from my finance days. Reports I authored, analysis I did, notes from meetings where my ideas were praised. I pick one up, a complex financial model I built that saved my previous company millions. My fingers trace the numbers, the formulas. It's like touching a part of myself I had buried deep. It's not dead. It's not heavy. It's sharp. It's capable. Holding that file, the feeling shifts from hurt and resentment to something colder, harder. It's not enough to just survive him. It's not enough to leave. Leaving means walking away with potentially nothing, starting over from scratch while he continues to thrive on the very sacrifices I made. That feels unjust. It feels like letting him be right. Let him be right that I was dead weight, easily discarded.
No.
If I am to be free, I have to be truly free. And that means severing the ties in a way that reclaims my power, not just my independence. The idea forms slowly, tentatively, then blossoms into a chilling certainty. His company. The source of his arrogance, his identity, his power. The thing he values above all else, certainly above me. What if I didn't just walk away from his world? What if I took it? What if I used the very mind he called dead weight to dismantle the empire he built? The thought is terrifying. It's audacious. It feels impossible. And because it feels impossible, because it would utterly blindside him, it feels
perfect.
The deepening crisis isn't just financial, it's existential. I start quietly making inquiries, reaching out to old contacts, framing it as exploring new opportunities. The responses are mixed. Some remember me fondly, but see me as a stay-at-home wife now. Others are polite but distant. The years out of the game are a real barrier. The financial world moves fast. I'm not just out of date. I'm invisible. One particularly demoralizing meeting leaves me staring at my reflection in a cafe window, feeling every bit the dead weight he described. It seems hopeless. I have no capital, no recent track record, no network in his world. He was right. I let myself become dependent, and now I'm paying the price. The despair is a heavy cloak, threatening to suffocate me. I considered just leaving, disappearing, licking my wounds far away from his orbit. It would be easier, less risky. But then I remember his face. The casual dismissal, the laughter, the way our friends looked away, the sheer, arrogant certainty that he was superior, that I was a relic. And the anger flares, hot and purifying. Easier isn't justice. Easier isn't reclaiming what was stolen. Easier isn't proving him wrong in a way he can never forget. The turning point comes not from an external savior, but from within. I stop looking for someone to give me an opportunity. I decide to create one. My strength isn't in my outdated resume, it's in my knowledge of him,
Of his blind spots.
of the company he thinks I know nothing about. He talks about it constantly, revealing details he assumes are meaningless to me. He brings home papers, leaves emails open. He sees me, but he doesn't see me. He underestimates my intelligence, my observation skills, my memory. This underestimation is my greatest weapon. I start compiling everything. Discarded notes, casual remarks, email trails he left open on the computer, public records, industry news. I begin to build a comprehensive picture of his company, not just the glossy exterior he presents to the world, but the messy, complicated interior. I identify key investors, major clients, potential regulatory hurdles, internal power struggles he's navigating. And I look for the leverage points, the weaknesses. The financial problem remains. I need capital. Significant capital. My squirrel hoard is insignificant. I can't approach traditional banks or investment firms without a solid proposal and, more importantly, without revealing my intentions, which would instantly trigger him. Then I remember an old client from my finance days, a shrewd, notoriously private investor named Eleanor Vance. She was tough, ruthless, but she respected intelligence and courage. We hadn't spoken in years, but I had her contact information. Reaching out felt like stepping off a cliff. What if she dismissed me? What if she alerted him? But the image of his smirking face, of his casual cruelty, pushes me forward. I compose an email. It's concise, professional, and doesn't mention my husband by name. It talks about identifying an undervalued asset, a company with significant structural vulnerabilities that, with the right strategic intervention, could be immensely profitable. It mentions a unique perspective based on proximity and observation. It asks for a confidential meeting. Eleanor Vance replies 2 days later. A single line. Tomorrow. My office. 10 Uhr morgens. The meeting is intense. Eleanor is exactly as I remember, sharp eyes, direct questions, no time for pleasantries. I lay out my analysis. I don't just present the public data. I integrate the insights gleaned from living inside the company's shadow. I talk about the specific dynamics, the personalities, the internal politics, the subtle shifts in strategy he's considering but hasn't announced. I reveal the vulnerabilities I've identified, a key supplier dependency, a looming patent issue he's downplaying, a potential internal fraud he seems oblivious to. I show her the detailed financial models I've built in secret, projecting both the risks and the immense potential if these issues are addressed under new leadership. I don't hide my identity, but I frame the situation carefully. The company is currently run by my husband, I state calmly. He built it, but he has become complacent and has significant blind spots I am uniquely positioned to exploit. My goal is a hostile takeover. I intend to acquire a controlling stake and implement the changes necessary to unlock its true value. My unique advantage is his complete underestimation of me. He will not see this coming until it is too late. Eleanor listens, her expression unreadable. When I finish, the silence stretches, heavy with anticipation. Then, a slow smile spreads across her face. It's not a warm smile. It's the smile of a predator who has spotted a fascinating opportunity. Hostile takeover, she muses. From inside the house. Using his own blind spots against him. And you, the dead weight. As the Trojan horse, she leans forward. I like it. It's got narrative. She asks more questions, probing my plan, my resources, my legal strategy. I have answers for everything. I've been living and breathing this plan in secret for months. It's not just revenge. It's a complex, calculated business strategy. I have identified potential allies on his board who are frustrated with his recent decisions. I have mapped out the funding needed and the structure of the acquisition vehicle. By the end of the meeting, Eleanor makes her decision. I'm in, she says. This is high risk, high reward. But your understanding of the target, your access to privileged information he unknowingly provides, and frankly, your sheer nerve. It's compelling. I'll assemble the syndicate. You execute the plan. Our agreement will reflect your leadership, naturally. You'll need legal counsel who is utterly discreet and utterly ruthless. I have the perfect person. Walking out of Eleanor Vance's office, the world feels different. The despair is gone, replaced by a fierce, cold determination. The challenges ahead are immense. The secrecy, the legal hurdles, the risk of exposure, the emotional toll. But I am no longer fighting for scraps or planning an escape. I am planning a conquest. The dead weight is about to sink the ship. The next few months are a blur of clandestine meetings, coded emails, and sleepless nights. My days are a careful performance of the supportive wife, managing the house, attending the required social functions, listening patiently or seemingly patiently to his endless talk of work. My nights are spent in a hidden office I've set up in a storage unit across town, working with Eleanor's team. Lawyers, financial analysts, private investigators. We build the case, identify the shareholders willing to sell, secure the funding. Every piece of information he carelessly leaves lying around, every frustrated rant about a board member, every offhand comment about the company's finances becomes a valuable puzzle piece in the picture we're assembling. He remains utterly clueless. He's too consumed by his own importance, too certain of my irrelevance. He sees me reading a book, doing laundry, planning a dinner party. He doesn't see me dissecting financial statements, strategizing with lawyers, signing multi-million-dollar agreements. The contrast is stark, and in its own way, darkly humorous. He's running around playing king of his castle, completely unaware that the dead weight he dismissed is systematically undermining its foundation. The plan is intricate and requires perfect timing. We target a moment when the company is vulnerable due to a pending regulatory decision he's confident will go his way, but which our intelligence suggests is far from certain. Many minority shareholders are nervous, looking for an exit, but his public confidence is keeping the stock artificially stable. Our offer is structured to be attractive enough to key shareholders, particularly disgruntled board members, but made privately through intermediaries to avoid raising red flags prematurely. The final push requires intense coordination. Legal documents are drafted, ready to be filed simultaneously across different jurisdictions. The funding is secured and poised. We need to acquire just over 50% of the shares to gain controlling interest. It's a delicate dance of negotiations, secrecy, and speed. There are moments of intense fear. What if someone talks? What if he gets a hint? What if the regulatory decision goes his way, boosting the stock price beyond our reach? The pressure is immense. I maintain my facade, calm on the surface, a churning storm beneath. He comments that I seem more centered lately. If only he knew. The day of the takeover dawns gray and rainy. It feels appropriate. This is a dismantling, a change in weather. I wake up early, the final documents spread out on my hidden desk. Today is the day. There is no turning back. My stomach is a knot of anticipation and dread. He leaves for work whistling. A big day for him too, finalizing a minor deal, signing some papers he's been bragging about. He kisses me goodbye, a peck on the cheek. "Wish me luck," he says, smiling. "Big things happening." "Oh, I will," I reply, my voice steady. "Big things are happening." He walks out the door, clueless. I don't go to my hidden office. I go to his office. Not our house, the company headquarters. I haven't been there in years, not since the early days when I helped out. It's a gleaming tower downtown, a monument to his success. I walk through the lobby, past the security guard who barely glances at me, just the boss's wife. I take the elevator up, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. The doors open onto his floor. It's quiet, luxurious, smelling of success and expensive cleaning products. His assistant, Sarah, looks up, surprised. "Mrs. his last name?" she asks, a slight frown on her face. Is everything all right?" "Everything is perfectly all right, Sarah," I say, my voice calm, confident. "I'm here to see my husband. Is he available?" Before she can answer, I walk past her desk towards his office door. It's slightly ajar. I push it open and step inside. He's at his massive desk, on the phone, laughing. The city skyline stretches out behind him through the panoramic windows. He looks every bit the powerful CEO. He glances up, annoyed at the interruption, then registers that it's me. His smile falters, replaced by confusion. "What are you doing here?" he asks, covering the receiver. "Is something wrong?" "Nothing is wrong," I say, closing the door softly behind me. In fact, from my perspective, everything is about to be very, very right. He hangs up the phone, his eyes narrowing.
"What is this?" he demands.
"I'm in the middle of something important." "Oh, I know," I say, walking towards his desk. I place a thick file folder on the corner. It contains the executed share purchase agreements, the legal filings, the notification to the board of directors. This is important too. He picks it up, his brow furrowed. He opens it. His eyes scan the documents. Confusion twists into disbelief. His face drains of color. His hands start to tremble just slightly. He looks up at me, his mouth open, but no sound comes out. "As you can see," I say, my voice low and steady, cutting through the sudden, deafening silence of the room. Eleanor Vance and her syndicate, acting on my behalf, have acquired a controlling stake in this company. As of precisely 9:17 a.m. this morning, I own just over 50% of the shares. Which means I pause, letting the words sink in, letting him process the impossible reality. I now own your company. His eyes are wide, wild.
No.
No, you can't. This is impossible.
How? You.
You don't know anything about business. He trails off, the words dying in his throat. He was about to say dead weight again. He remembers. I'm just dead weight? I finish his sentence for him, a cold smile touching my lips. Is that what you were going to say? Funny, isn't it? The dead weight just bought your entire world out from under you. He pushes himself up from the desk, scattering papers. You did this?
How?
Where did you get the money? You have nothing. I had enough. I say simply. Enough resources, enough intelligence, enough support from people who actually recognize competence, and enough motivation. You provided the motivation. And unknowingly, you provided the intelligence too. All those papers, all those calls, all those dismissive remarks. You showed me exactly where to strike. You were so busy underestimating me. You never saw me coming. His face contorts into a mask of pure rage and disbelief. You snake. You conniving. You think you can just take what I built. I didn't just take it. I correct him, my voice like ice. I acquired it. Legally. Fair and square. Your shareholders were quite receptive to the offer. Seems some of them were tired of your leadership. Funny, that. He rounds the desk, standing over me, towering, intimidating. This is the part where he expects me to flinch, to back down. He's used to projecting power. But I don't flinch. I stand my ground, meeting his furious gaze with my own cool, unwavering stare. Get out of my office, he hisses. Actually, I say, a cruel sweetness in my tone. It's my office now. And my company. Which brings me to the next point. I reach into my bag and pull out another folder, much thinner. I place it on the desk on top of the first one. This is an application form for a position as senior executive. He stares at the form, then back at me, utterly bewildered. What is this? If you wish to continue working here, I explain, letting the full weight of the words land, you will need to formally apply for a position. The board, my board now, will review your qualifications, as they would any other candidate. You'll need to submit your resume, provide references, and potentially interview. And if you are hired, you'll report to the new CEO, which will be me. The air crackles with the force of his suppressed fury, the shock giving way to sheer, explosive disbelief. Apply?
To you?
You expect me to apply for a job in my company?
Report to you.
His voice rises, starting as a strangled whisper and building into a roar. Never. You think you've won? You think this is over? Oh, it's over. I assure him calmly. For you, in the way you knew it. This company is under new management. My management. And your options are limited. You can apply, hope you're deemed valuable enough to keep around, and work for the woman you called dead weight. Or you can walk away with nothing but your personal assets. Either way, this is no longer yours to control. He slams his hand down on the desk, the wood vibrating. You bitch. You absolute bitch. He's screaming now, his face red, veins bulging in his neck. All the controlled, polished charm is gone, replaced by the raw, ugly core of his entitlement and rage. He lunges forward, and for a second, I think he might actually physically attack me. But he stops himself, probably realizing the optics, the security, the sheer futility of it. He stands there, trembling with fury, staring at the application form, then at me. The man who had everything, whose identity was fused with his company, is now facing the ultimate humiliation, stripped bare of his power by the person he deemed beneath contempt. You think this is funny? He spits, his voice hoarse from screaming. Funny. I echo, looking at him standing there, raging, impotent.
No.
Not funny.
It's
justice. And a very, very profitable business decision. It turns out, dead weight can be repurposed, can be reborn. And when it rises with the strength of everything it had to bear. I pick up the application form and hold it out to him. Take your time considering your options, I say, my tone utterly devoid of warmth or mercy. But don't wait too long. We'll be filling positions quickly. He stares at the form in my hand as if it's a venomous snake. He doesn't take it. He just stands there, defeated, furious, blindsided. The architect of his own downfall, brought low by the very person he thought incapable of independent thought, let alone strategic warfare. I turn and walk towards the door. I pause with my hand on the doorknob. By the way, I add, looking back at him, a small, chilling smile on my face. That dinner party we were supposed to host next week? You'll need to find somewhere else to live before then. I'm keeping the house. And then I walk out, leaving him alone in the silence of what was once his kingdom, with nothing but an application form and the echoing sound of his own words. Dead weight. The aftermath isn't triumphant cheering. It's a profound, unsettling quiet. The acquisition proceeds swiftly, cleanly, thanks to Eleanor's team. The news hits the financial press, a major shockwave. The dead weight wife, acquiring her husband's company, is a sensational headline. He becomes a pariah, the subject of mockery and speculation. He doesn't apply for the job. He leaves the company, his reputation in tatters. Our divorce is finalized quickly. He fights for the house, for assets, but my position is strong. I keep the house, his primary status symbol, a final echo of my taking everything he valued. I am now the CEO. The transition is difficult, demanding. I work harder than I ever thought possible. The company has issues, just as I predicted, but with the right strategy and the removal of his complacent leadership, we begin to turn things around. There's a cold satisfaction in sitting in his old chair. Running the company, he said I was too useless to understand. I see the employees who quietly resented him, the clients who felt neglected. I implement the changes I planned, the ones he dismissed. And they work. The company doesn't just survive. It begins to thrive under my leadership. But the taste of victory is complex. It's mixed with the bitterness of betrayal, the years I sacrificed, the person I had to become to survive and conquer. I gained an empire, but I lost a marriage, a perceived life, and a part of my innocence. The woman who walked into Eleanor Vance's office was motivated by righteous fury and a fierce desire for vindication. The woman who sits in the CEO chair now is tempered, harder, irrevocably changed. Sometimes, late at night, working in this vast, silent office, I look out at the city lights. I think about that living room, that night, those words. Dead weight. They no longer sting. They are a reminder. A reminder of what happens when you underestimate someone, when you discard them, when you label them useless. You might just inspire them to build their own gravity, strong enough to pull your world into their orbit. The dead weight didn't sink. It rose. And in rising, it lifted itself out of his shadow forever. The cost was high, the path was brutal, but I am no longer defined by his perception. I am defined by my own power. If this story hit close to home, I'd love to hear your version. Drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is. And thank you for being here. Subscribing helps bring more of these stories to life.